Today on the Big Scope, we're going to be talking about one of the more interesting facets of the cryptocurrencies, talking about mining. Now, mining is how a lot of these computers verify whether a transaction on Bitcoin's blockchain or any other blockchain has been good, is a transaction that's verified. Now, as all of us have heard, Bitcoin transaction mining has, NG costs that skyrocketed recently in the last 6 to 8 months as more and more of the planet have tried to get involved in getting Bitcoin as the prices have gone up. So today we've got Brian Tehako, the president of Blockchain Capital Management and Mining, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how mining works. Hey Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Brian, before we get into all this, just tell me, how does mining work? I mean, what kind of equipment do you need? Is it just one computer?
So currently right now we have a fund called the Mid Fund that is mining for Bitcoin. When you mine for Bitcoin, it uses a different type of processor that basically the best machine right now is the Bitmain S9 Antminer. So that is what we are using to mine our Bitcoins right now currently in Iceland.
And so is this something that's easily available to the public, or do you have to go to a special distributor? Or?
So basically, to kind of give you a background of how we got into it, was we actually run also an investment fund, and we're looking to learn how to mine on our own, and kind of just stumbled into it and learned that it's a very hard process to do on your own. The machines for a normal person are hard to obtain. If you do, you have to really pay a high cost. Then once you try running it on your own at home, the electricity costs are crazy for a normal person to run it in the United States. So like my house personally here in the United States, I'd pay 13 to 14 cents per kilowatt. So that's expensive. And then secondly, the machines are really loud. And lastly, the machines produce a lot of heat and they need to be cooled to be able to run efficiently. So those are the hard issues that it's hard for people to do on their own, which we're trying to solve all those problems for people and doing it all in one where nobody has to do it from their house. So we can provide an investor an opportunity to mine Bitcoins without having to go through that whole process. So we provide the equipment. Yep.
So, sorry, I just got a question about what you're saying. So how does that work? Does the investor own the machine and then the machine is just operated by you guys? Or do you guys own the machines and the investors just put in some money and take it out whenever they want? How does that work?
So the machines, basically, we are running an investment fund where the investor puts in a minimum amount would be, let's say, $5,000. They get the equipment. It's all set up in Iceland. They get the equipment. The equipment then is also funded for 1 year to run on low electricity costs. We do all the hosting, we do all the security, we do all the maintenance. So if anything breaks, anything goes bad with the equipment, everything is covered in that year time period. Once the investor is broke even, then they do not own the equipment anymore. Then it basically runs into a fund, and then we split the profits with the investor, and then also the data center, and then ourselves at Blockchain Capital Management. So an example would be to get one unit, one Antminer. If you wanted to invest in the fund, you would invest $5,000. That would include your equipment and run costs for 1 year.
Okay.
Once your $5,000, everything that gets mined, once it gets mined, all that investment goes back to you 100%. So you receive your $5,000 back. Then once you receive your initial investment back, then we start splitting the profits as a fund. So then you would get 40%, the data center for doing everything gets 40%, and then we get the 20% out of your percentage.
All right, so then I gotta ask you, there's something that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to mining. Now you guys have set up an entire rig, an entire system in Iceland. So I've got to ask, what are the upsides of that? Is real estate cheaper? What is the upside of going all the way to Iceland if you guys are based in America?
So it was a weird kind of thing that happened. We kind of just stumbled upon the mining in Iceland, and it happened to be we have friends through the family that my wife went to high school with that was an exchange student. So we started talking to them, and I started reading more about mining in Iceland. And for people that don't know, everything in Iceland that runs on electricity is all green. So they're either geothermal, hydro, or turbine off of windmills. Those are their three. So all the electricity is green. It's free for them, not really free, but it's cheap as it comes. So that's one of the benefits, how electricity costs are so much cheaper. So it's basically almost 1/4 of what we would pay here in the United States, which is great. The second part that makes Iceland so nice is their fresh air, right? If the temperatures never really range outside of 30 to 65 degrees.
You talking about Fahrenheit, right?
Yes, Fahrenheit, sorry. So what's nice about that environment is they can use all the fresh air from the outside in the mining facility. So the fresh air comes in, cools the equipment, the machines blow the hot air goes up out of the facility and circulates back out. So that takes, the machines are now regulated at a nice temperature below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which then increases the productivity of the machine. So the constant problem here in the United States is how do you cool them? Now your electricity costs are high. Think about it. Your electricity costs are already high here. Now you have to add on top of that trying to cool them, which is more electricity costs or more fans or some sort of liquid cooled racks or something like that. So the costs go up. Where in Iceland, that's all neutralized.
It's all flat, yeah. So then I've got to ask you something about, if you guys are individuals or an individual firm going out and saying, all right, we want to mine, we want to make investment profit off this. But I think something that a lot of people are realizing now is Bitcoin has reached a level of energy usage that is prohibitively expensive. So I know you've come up with a great solution of moving to Iceland where it's green and it's so much cheaper and the cooling is taken care of for you. But how do you compete with the big guys? So we know that China used to have the big mining pools until they, had their problems at the end of last year, shutting down a lot of the cryptocurrency firms. But how do you deal with the big guys across the planet who have big mining pools where they tap into everyone's processing power, not just their own? How often do you mine a Bitcoin? Is that something that happens on a daily basis, an hourly basis?
So basically, we're still joining pools, right? So our investors, so say you invested in one unit and you have one miner running, you are invested into a major pool already. So the distribution of the pools basically all come together and it just gets distributed according to how many, terahashes you're producing, what your return rate is. So joining a pool like Slush Pool or something like that, where you're paying a 1% management pool, you're still involved in a major pool. Does that make sense? So yeah. You're just not using your own miner and trying to produce your Bitcoins. You're a part of a pool and producing that. So right now, our run rate of energy and what we can do, we're estimating that basically one unit at $5,000, you're going to break even and get your investment back between 9 and 10 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. But does that take into account, the rising interest in Bitcoin mining? I mean, everyone's going for it right now. So does that take into account, 10 months down the line, there may be a huge mining pool back in China again? So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can never, forward account for that. All you can use is your back data, you know what I mean? And you can adjust, obviously, the easiest thing to adjust for is the difficulty going up. But again, it's hard to predict prices. It's hard to predict the difficulty rate. Yes, it's hard to predict how many, are actually getting mined. So all we can do is take back data. The forward data is the hardest part, you know what I mean, is trying to understand where the rates are going to be and where that break-even point is. So we can guesstimate as best as possible, but again, you never know. And again, people forget too that mining, you're not only mining for Bitcoins, right, and getting the physical Bitcoin, you're also mining the transactions, right? So every time there's more transactions and there's transactions happening, you're also receiving transaction fees for that. So that's difficult to predict, and you kind of just never know. So I've been a commodity trader for 25 years. That was my main income for my whole life since the early 90s. I was a European bond trader versus US bond trader, right? So it's the same process that we always use there. You can take back data, you can look at how things reacted to certain things, and that's basically the same tools that we're using here. Always when trading futures or doing anything in commodities, the forward stuff is hard. You can model it, but I'm never going to base anything or tell investors this is, what's going to happen in the future.
All right. So then, just to be clear, you guys aren't. You guys are more of a middleman rather than taking on the pools. You're just saying, all right, instead of buying your own rig and trying to get into a pool and work through all that difficulty, you just give us the money to give us a commission fee, and then we'll get you in, and it's a lot simpler, right?
Yeah, so what we bring to the table is obviously, yes, we're the middleman. We're giving the investors access to one of the best mining facilities, one of the best mining companies in the world that are going to handle everything. We guarantee your rig to run for a year. But what my team brings to the table is over 100 plus years of trading experience and being able to manage inventory for you and be able to even hedge your positions that you're collecting in Bitcoin. So right now, our mining operation works that you receive your Bitcoins once a week. Okay, so we can pay back your investment, right? Or you can tell us, hold the inventory. We'll move you into our other fund, which is the Legend Fund. We will manage now your inventory for you. So now we're bringing the experience of taking your inventory, converting it. We can either convert it to fiat and give it back to you wherever you want, or you can say, hey, we want to hold the inventory. Now, as traders, we manage the position for you. We say, hey, we don't like the market here, let's get out, convert it to fiat, or we do like the market here, or we like other coins that now we can convert that Bitcoin into other coins, hold position for you.
Oh, so you guys use Bitcoin mining as a jumping off point, and then you just go across and say, okay, now that we've got this basic amount that you've invested with us, if you want to stick with us, we can do across the board.
Yes. Okay. So think about that. So it's one of the rarest forms, and that's what's so great about this market is you can, for a minimum investment, you can mine and get inventory in something, and then you can you have the physical asset to then further your investments down the road and turn it into even more and collect inventory. It's amazing when you really think about it. It'd be like, I guess mining for gold is similar to it, where you can get the gold physical and then you can turn that physical and convert it into other investments, right? So our goals with our investor, if for yourself you invested $5,000, you get your return back. We're still collecting inventory. Now you're just using that inventory to build more inventory, to build into other investments and turn it into something. Right now, our past data is saying that you should get your investment back. And then also, by the time the equipment lasts and everything else like that, you should get around 100 to 150% return on your money. So now you're getting that in Bitcoin, and now you're paying us now to manage that. So you're hands off completely. Now, hopefully, we can turn that investment even into other things.
So then I've got to ask you. I mean, all this is based on the mining working fundamentally. So I've got to ask, how many Bitcoins do you guys mine as an entire fund in a week if you're paying out every week?
Well, it depends. So right now, our first run that we're doing in Iceland is going to be 500 miners. Okay, so we're running, the first fund will be 500 miners. That's what we're launching. That's our first run. And then we're obviously going to build from there. So within those miners, we should be able to mine between 5 to 7 Bitcoins per week.
And how many investors do you have right now?
So basically, we are forming the investment pool right now, but for us to launch for data, we're really just limiting it to 2 to 3 investors.
Oh, so that's not a bad return at all. I mean, if you're telling me I just need to put $5,000 in to become an investor, and you're limited to under 5 investors, and you're making up to 7 Bitcoins a week, you get your money back almost instantaneously, right? So why the 9 to 10 month gap prediction?
Well, that's with the full investment of the 500 miners. So if you took 500 miners, right, and mine, you would get between 5 and 10 Bitcoin per week. Okay. So it would take you 9 months to get back, let's say $2.5 million is what the investment would be in 500 miners. So we're looking to retain that basically after 9 or 10 months. Does that make sense?
Yeah, all right. So then I've got to ask,
so if you had one unit.
Sorry, can you repeat what you just said?
If you had one unit, so for $5,000, it would take you 9 or 10 months. So for one unit, so 5,000, you would probably mine, over the course of that 9 months, you would probably only mine a half a Bitcoin over 9 or 10 months.
All right. So then I got to ask, why are you sticking to Bitcoin mining? Why not, the other coins? Wouldn't it be cheaper and easier?
So for right now, the way that the Bitcoin mining works and the pools and how the equipment runs and everything we're doing in Iceland, Bitcoin right now is the best process for us. We're looking into doing some alternative coins down the line, but for right now, Bitcoin for us is the easiest for investors to get into to convert into other coins. When people don't understand, when you get into other coins, it's a different way of mining. You need video cards, GPU type cards. You need different types of rigs. You can't use the same equipment to mine for other coins. All coins have a different way that they produce their mining. So we can't use the S9 ant miners to mine for other coins. You need different equipment for it.
Can I ask you why that is? I mean, isn't the whole idea just the amount of processing power you're putting out there? So if you've got a really strong machine that's putting out enough processing power to get you, 5 to 7 bitcoins a week, or 500 machines that get you 5 to 7 bitcoins a week, wouldn't that same processing power just be utilized for if you want to do Litecoin, for example?
No, it's a different process. It's a different way of the algorithms, how the computers run off of different machines to mine for different coins. So, for example, there's Script, which is script miners. Those are used for different algorithms to basically mine for like Litecoin. Now, there's people that are saying that they're producing some machines that they can switch, but we haven't seen them yet. So right now, basically, the only things that we will mine for is either Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. They use the same type of running algorithms to basically produce those. So when you get into other type of coins, you have to look according to what type of rig you're running, what type of system you're running, how many video cards. There's a lot of nice features out on the internet if you search of mining calculators, and they'll tell you if you have certain type of video cards, how many you have, what's your hashing rate, what's everything you have, that then it'll show you what the best coin for you to mine is. But for us personally, we feel that Bitcoin is the best store of value. Okay, and it's the best product that we feel for our investors to mine. We trust that we believe Bitcoin will be here, forever. We don't think it's going away. There's only so many to mine, and we believe it's the best product to mine into, that we feel for our investors that they can gain that store of value. And then if we want to, then we can diversify and buy into other coins. Now, is it the most profitable? Possibly, but not all the time. There might be other ways of investments that we will offer down the line. But for currently right now, we want to get our investors and get them to own inventory in Bitcoin.
All right, so then I've got a final question for you, because you mentioned that Bitcoin is a limited currency. So is the mining a long-term prospect for you, or is it just something to get investors on board in the next 5 to 10 years, and then you take it from there and move towards full-blown investment?
So currently, yes. Right now, we feel that Bitcoin is the best thing to mine right now. Will it be there forever? No, there's only 21 million to mine, and according to people's calculations, 2040 will be probably the last time that a Bitcoin will be mined. But right now, we want to get our investors into it, and then down the line, yes, we will switch to other coins. If cryptocurrency is here forever, we're always going to use it, there's always going to be coins to mine. But for right now, we believe this next 10 to 20 years is where we want our investors to mine for Bitcoin. And then obviously at some point in time, when it's not profitable, then we'll move into other coins to mine.
So I've got to ask you something we ask all of our cryptocurrency blockchain experts to come on here. Do you consider yourself a traditionalist? Do you see Bitcoin and blockchain as this great revolution that's going to democratize everything? Or do you believe that you can have permission blockchains, you can have cryptocurrencies that are for smaller users rather than just the whole unregulated Wild West system we have right now?
So when I started into this, I really took some time to fully understand it. And when I first started trading, I came into basically the dot-com bubble. And when I saw what was happening here, it had a very good sense of feel of what was going on back then in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Like, there's a lot going on in regulation, and people didn't understand it. I mean, I remember talking to guys that were my age back then going, well, it's never going to work, and I'm always going to use I'm never going to use the internet. I'm never going to trust it. And, same type of things. And there was good things, there was bad things, there was scams, there was all this kind of stuff. Same type of feeling now. But to me, the technology and the understanding of it is basically money catching up to technology and the internet. And I believe that there's going to be a role for all cryptocurrencies. I don't believe that it's just going to be a privacy thing. I don't think it's going to be anything. I believe that blockchain technology will revolutionize everything that we do, including basically our kids, like my kids now. It will change everything that they do and how they use it and how they transact and how they game and how they bank and how they send money to each other. It will change everything that we do. It's just right now we're just trying to filter through, and I'm very proud of our government and how they're taking in the role and how Giancarlo and the CFTC and the SEC is looking at this, because they look at it exactly how I feel. They're not trying to stop this. They went through the same conversations that I just went, like with their kids, that this is their technology, just like how the internet was our technology, for when we were in our teens and 20s, and the government didn't stop it. They just have to try to protect it, right, and make sure people don't get harmed by it. So I'm very proud of the role they're taking. I'm all about this. Obviously, I switched my whole career into this. I firmly believe that this is the future, and I want to help protect investors that want to get into mining and handling positions the right way with people that they can trust, that they know we're in the best interest for them all the way down the line.
All right. So, Brian, thanks a lot for joining us, and this has been the Big Scope's Introduction to Mining. All right, Brian, thanks a lot. That was really, really informative.
Good.
All right, so